Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Olivia. Um, Something that I want to talk about today is I think as I have progressed in my early 20s and I've gotten older and I've seen a lot of things and I've observed a lot of things, I have come to realize that, you hear everybody say, oh, you need to be careful who you talk to and what you talk about. As I've gotten older, that is excellent advice because I have realized that every conversation has a price. Every conversation that you have with someone will either drain you or it will enrich your life. Every single conversation that you have with someone will cost you your time and your energy. I think avoiding hard conversations and having a tough talk with someone is expensive. Having hard conversations can be beneficial. Sometimes having hard conversations can be detrimental. Sometimes when you have hard conversation with someone and you get real with someone, it turns out being better than you thought it would. It turns out being the best conversation that you ever had. It deepens the relationship. There's more love, there's more honesty because you're both willing to come to a not a balance, but an even level ground throughout the whole conversation, even after. I feel sometimes having conversations can make you feel as though you wish you never opened up your mouth in the first place because all it did was make the situation worse. And when I think about it, I feel like it honestly depends on the person who you're talking to. It depends on your relationship with this person. It depends on how honest each side of the conversation or each person is going to be honest, truthful, how much love is there, how much commitment there is also to the relationship because sometimes people want to change, sometimes people want to acknowledge the situation, get better at whatever discussion that you're having with them. And sometimes people want to play dumb. People want to victimize themselves, and people want to just have a lack of accountability because they don't really want to take responsibility for what you're saying. And I feel like whether the is good or bad, there is both a good and there is both a bad emotional investment over time, depending on what the conversation is about. Like I said, conversations can enrich your life, can make you feel like just a sigh of relief. And then sometimes conversations can make you feel as like, can drain you to no end. And this just makes me realize something that I feel like there's a level of maturity that has to be there. Some people, I heard someone say, everybody gets old, but not everybody matures. Just because you're old doesn't mean that you're wise. And I have come to realize that you really got to stop letting people who are bored with their own lives use you as entertainment. I think there are really people out there with bad intentions and they will disguise it as curiosity in a conversation. And that's why I mean, sometimes every single conversation has a price, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Sometimes people have malicious, evil, ill intentions and will disguise it as a curiosity conversation of, oh, I just want to get to know you, or who are you, or even people that rapid fire asking you a bunch of questions, or people just wanting to become your friends really, really fast, like really quickly. Immediately, I'm like, what is your intention out of this? What information are you trying to gather? My life is not a source of entertainment. My life's not a TV show. It just made me realize that, a lot of people may even see your life as a source of entertainment, and it has to make you move differently, and it has to make you realize that every single conversation you have with someone, regardless of who it is, it has a price. It has an emotional tax. It has an emotional mental toll, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And even me, I'm starting to realize as I've gotten older, a lot of people get like this high from causing arguments and disagreements and through discussions and just being just wanting to go back and forth in a conversation because it makes them feel good about themselves while they're depleting you in the whole conversation. People rage baiting, or even people just wanting to contact you to just simply get information about you and then spread it around, or even get contact you to get information about other people to spread it around. I don't know. As I've just gotten older, I've just realized that a lot of conversations, they, you just really got to stop. At least I've realized a lot of conversations that I've wanted to have with people, or that I have had with people, there was too much of an emotional toll for me to ever have a conversation again. You got to stop getting into, I've realized you have to stop arguing or trying to make people understand when people really don't want to understand and have a misconception of you, and you try to make them understand and they really don't want to, and then you start arguing and you going back and forth. I've just realized that, a lot of people like rage baiting. A lot of people get an actual high, like something happens in the hormones from rage baiting and causing arguments and disagreements and confrontation. I just honestly have realized that just a lot of people are, like I said, a lot of people are growing, maturing physically, but not maturing mentally, in the mind. You're sick. You're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s years old, and you're still behaving like you're in middle school, or you're still behaving like you're 10 years old. And you know what was I going to say? Just, and then when I have realized that, as I've gotten older, and the people that I talk to, and me trying so hard to make people understand certain things, it just is it's an emotional toll that is not necessary. The right people, when you talk to them, they're going to understand what you have to say, regardless of what you say, regardless of what words that you misuse, what word, how you, maybe even how you describe how you feel. The right people are going to understand how you feel, and there's not going to be an emotional toll, and the conversation is not going to emotionally and mentally and physically drain you when you talk to the right people. When you talk to the wrong people, the people who are stuck, the people who have this preconceived notion of who you are, and if you do anything to try to not derail, but anything to try to prove that it's wrong, no, just trying to prove you're somebody to someone who's already made up in their mind who they are. It's honestly pointless. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm just being real. It's honestly pointless. I've tried. I, it's a conversation. The conversations that you have is nothing but an emotional toll and will drain you further. And that's why I say every conversation has a price, especially with who you have it with. There's people out there, that will do nothing but drain you, want to do nothing but fight and argue and have confrontation. But the right people for you will enrich your life, will make you feel as though the conversations and spending time with them is nothing but a breath of fresh air. So it just makes me realize that the time you spend with people, the energy that you spend with people, and that you give to people of yourself, I feel like it's one of the most valuable assets that you can have in relationships with people. And it just teaches me, when I talk to people, and I have realized this, and I continue to realize this and be mindful of this, that what's the whole purpose of this conversation? What is the whole purpose of this? What is the value? What is the goal? What's the whole purpose of me talking to you, of this conversation? Like I said, some conversations that you have with people, I really think it depends on the level of maturity. Like I said, some people are mentally 10 years old and they in their 60s, and it blows my mind. But there's just really some people that are out there that are just severely underdeveloped, and that's why I said the right people for you will not drain you, but the people who are not for you will. And I think there just has to be a level of honesty, there has to be a level of love and trust when you have conversations with people, whether they're good or bad, whether they're deep, whether they're just a shallow, just a real short conversation. Every conversation has a price to it. And like I said, I feel like there has to be a level of honesty, there has to be a level of trust, there has to be a level of love, and growth is the biggest thing. It just hit me. The relationship has to have not a balance. What is the word I'm thinking of? A not symbiotic, um, equal goal maybe of growth. Because if not, you growing, they may not be. And some conversations, like I said, are going to drain you, and some conversations are going to enrich you. You just have to figure out what conversation is the price, what conversation is worth your time, and what conversation is worth your energy. Because a lot of conversations that you be having with people, it's really not worth it. It's really not. Some conversations you need to have with the people that are meant for you, the right people for you, not the wrong people for you, trying to do everything that you can to prove something to someone who already has a preconceived notion of who you are, and it's not going to change their mind. So it just teaches me, like I said, every conversation has a price. Am I willing to pay for it? And if not, maybe I don't need to be talking to you. I need to move to someone else who is going to understand how I feel and is going to be open-minded and just be real and have the same shared goal of the relationship and conversation. But that's something that I wanted to talk about today. I hope everyone has a fantastic day today. Yeah, and I'll see you guys next time.